The Lassie Talks podcast.
Hi, I'm Yvonne,
And I'm Robert.
and welcome to Lassie Talks podcast, where we talk about building a better bond with your dog. And today we're going to talk about relaxation regimes.
Yes, and on relaxation, I think it might be a good thing for me to talk about dogs that are sound sensitive. So I may give a little tip on sound sensitivity at the end of it.
Yes, and we have Penny here. She's one of our more ants in your pants dog, isn't she?
Yes, indeed she is. On the go all the time.
She's a working border collie. She does sometimes find it difficult to actually relax.
Indeed she does. And also she's our dog that's the most sound sensitive.
Yes, sadly, yes. And do you think that's an inherited thing?
It can be partly hereditary, but it is also exposure to sounds and different types at an early age can desensitize the dog to the sounds in the future. So as a puppy, exposing a dog to lots of different sounds, and we're talking here obviously strange sounds, not us talking and
and
being
if you
about
can
it.
hear, there's a soaring in the background, and she's got a bit ants in your pants.
Yeah.
She doesn't.
Well, she for whatever reason is sensitive to mechanical sounds, so things like lawnmowers and engines and things like that. She's
Hoover.
Yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't like. She seems not to like different sounds. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think there must be some deep association that they've made, and not that I can think that she's had a bad association with a lawnmower, but there has been some sort of association. But she's also sensitive to sounds and the way things are done on even if we have the television playing in the evening.
Yeah,
and she will pick up tension and violence and such like that might suddenly pop up on the news channel or whatever.
Yeah, and the problem is as well with a sound sensitive dog, and I've got this now. I'm working against this. This is real life.
Yeah.
You know, I've got in the background a sound that I know she doesn't like. It's chainsaw, perhaps.
Yeah, I would think so.
Next door neighbour.
Well, maybe even further away than that.
Yeah, but I can hear it. She can hear it.
She'll hear it much better than you will.
And she started to get ants in your pants, and then what I'm finding difficult now is because she's all sort of revved up, I want to get her to relax again. And she's finding it difficult. So, I have to treat the bed that she's lying on rather than her mouth. Whoops, you can't hear me there. Rather than your mouth, I just stepped away from the mic, folks. I'm treating the bed, it sounds silly, but I'm putting the treat on the bed rather than in her mouth. Because when you put the treat in the mouth, that is souping them up. If you that is, let's go for a next game. But when it's on the bed, that's my cue that I want you to, relax. So I'm going to put another treat on the bed.
And down she goes.
Not quite as down as I wanted her to go.
No, well, she's already working herself up. You can see that. So we are working
with a real dog.
With a real dog, trying to.
What a good decision!
There she's gone.
Yeah, she lay down there on her own accord, and that's what we're trying to capture. Now, I'm hoping that Saul will, start to, he finish his job and then she can relax, or that actually, by doing this game just now, we'll just have to keep going with it, where we keep on treating her while that sound goes on. And it might help her desensitize to the noise, do you think?
I think if you can associate the noise with a pleasurable sensation of being fed nice treats, then clearly that's got to be a step in the right direction. But we do have to remember that dogs that are sound sensitive can pick up sounds, long before we can hear them, and we've got to be cognizant of their reactions, and often that can explain a dog that suddenly seems to be agitated for what appears to be no reason. because it's heard something that perhaps we haven't.
Yeah.
Their hearing is more acute than ours, and they're going to be conscious of it if they're sensitized to a sound that they dislike, and that is then going to exhibit in behaviour of agitation.
Yes, absolutely. And we did have a client whose dog was so fearful of the ping on the cooker when the dinner was, timer,
Yeah, I remember that dog.
and
Yeah,
redirected that fear and actually nipped her on the heel,
yeah,
and was, I'm scared. And it's we call it in the dog training world redirected aggression, and it was fear based. Can you just explain redirected aggression?
Well, this is where a stimulus that the dog is agitated by and is probably fearful and anxious about, and their response is to aggress to it. But of course, the sound is nebulous and not there, so they will turn round and aggress, perhaps to something nearby that is not connected at all with the sound, but just happens to be conveniently there.
Yeah, because the owners...
It's a form, I would
Yeah.
think, of sort of frustration, anger, rage,
Yeah,
distress.
Panksepp's theories, blue ribbons of emotions. Yeah, the thing is...
that's something perhaps you should go into in greater detail. I don't know, today or perhaps another day.
I mean, he talks about the fear system and the rage system, and how our brains work, and I explain it at great length in my book, In Search of Lassie. So yes, so what we've got is a dog that's frustrated because there's the noise, and fearful because the noise is there and they don't know where it's coming from. So it associates the owner, perhaps, and that's why they come to us, for that actual noise that they're scared of.
Yeah,
so then
they're making an inappropriate connection.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And this is the thing, dogs learn by association, don't they? Associating one thing with another. And what has happened is with the noise that they're scared of, they've associated it with the particular case I'm talking about. They associated it with the owner. Fortunately, Penny doesn't, ping and grab us by the ankles.
No, and it's interesting that in some dogs there's very specific sounds, and it can be quite difficult to unravel as to what might have set it off in the first place, or where the association comes from. But the classic would be thunderstorms and fireworks and other very loud, whizzy, noisy, banging things that many people are afraid of as well.
Yeah, it becomes a phobia.
Absolutely, and the phobia can build, and they very often, if it's left, if you like, untreated, sound sensitivity get worse as the dog goes on in age.
Which we're actually finding with...
we're just going to bring that up, that as she's got older, she's more sensitive of sound, and she will certainly go off and be out the way, which obviously is
she hides
away.
Yeah.
And that's something that should be encouraged, not discouraged, because it gives them opportunity to find a secure place where they feel less fearful. But in severe cases, where your dog is really clearly distressed, then I would advise our listeners and viewers to definitely go and seek some veterinary help. There are some very good treatments in the form of medication for this particular condition. So it is something that can be treated. And, if your dog is really fearful of whatever sound, whether it be fireworks in autumn or thunderstorms in the summer, whenever, to have something to hand that can help the situation is is strongly recommended
What for extreme cases?
for extreme cases.
Yeah,
I mean, Penny isn't a complete doesn't completely collapse into a heap of trembling and such like. She just finds somewhere more comfortable to be out of the way and
Yeah.
does not want to be in sight of the lawnmower or whatever that is.
And
But
also,
it is interesting that she is becoming a little bit more sensitive. It's
Do you-
not a big issue for us,
Yeah.
but if it is, then we will be looking for medication for her.
and also, do you think it's part of the cognitive decline that older dogs get, that they sort of return?
No, I don't think it's associated with. I think it is just a
that's-
fear association that feeds on itself.
Oh, right, and just increase. Right, okay. So, I mean, I've been doing lots of things like playing with her when, around the lawnmower and playing tug-it games, and so that, the object that makes the noise is actually, going to actually be associated with good things. And now she's, hearing the sounds in the background, and she knows getting on her bed. I've just treated her. Will get her, good things, and that's you have to sort of really live with a sound sensitive dog. Do you think it can be cured totally?
I think it's very difficult to get a cure of something that can become so ingrained. So it is something that you may have to manage rather than cure. But what you're doing by trying to desensitize and counter condition will go some way towards the situation. But of course, sounds can come out of the blue. It's the classic is when we take our dogs out for a walk over some fields where there may be a crop scare in spring, and they're totally unpredictable and
That's so scary.
so scary. But some dogs and our dogs are not that bothered by it.
Yeah.
So it's quite a complex condition to
unravel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, some sounds she seems to be, really sensitive to, and others she doesn't. And it's the unpredictability of it that makes it difficult to train against. And
yeah, well, that's true of anything. You can set things up, but it's always an artificial setup. I
think if I had my time again with Penny, because she's an old dog now, that I might have been a little bit more aware of what I could have done for her, to help her with the sound sensitivity, and actually think about not ignoring it and actually comforting them, because people think that comforting your dog when they're sound sensitive is a bad thing, because they think that increases the behavior. But actually, if the dog is fearful and you give them a cuddle, surely that won't increase the behavior. You can't train an emotion, can you? That they've got that emotion.
Yeah, they've got the emotion, and what I think that's probably based on is if you yourself has a phobia, say to thunderstorms, and you are exhibiting that emotion, you can't hide it from the dog. Your body language will show it, or at least it's difficult to do that. But you shouldn't certainly feed off one another's fear. But again, if you're fearful of thunderstorms, then maybe you need to get some help.
That's when I've often said
cognitive behavioural therapy or whatever.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
The dog will feed off your emotion in that it will sense your thing. And as I said earlier, that one of the interesting things with our sound sensitive dog Penny is when there is conflict on television, whether that might be a program where it's designed in like EastEnders or something, or whether it's something on the news or that, she is acutely aware of it, where our other dogs, nothing at all.
We've just lost a treat. This is a new game as well. Hunt the treat.
Yeah.
Finding a treat. I'm just lifting the bed. Has she found it?
Don't think so. She's coming for it.
Actually, that's another good trick to do, is to actually hide treats around the house when there's something like fireworks going on. So they're so busy. Did you find it, Ben? No. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's again you need to gauge the intensity of it. If the dog is so intensely fearful, then you're not going to be able to get through to them.
They're not going to get
They're not going to go.
food.
But if you can reduce the intensity of the emotion that the dog's fear, then that's the time you can put in some training. And certainly hide and seek and scent can be a strong motivator.
I'm just going to do it now. Find it. Now she's using her nose, and the scent will hopefully, scenting is a relaxing thing, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. So you're trying to counteract a negative emotion with a positive emotion, and if you can do that early on, and it can be.
If you point
in action,
there you go.
Then,
she's found it.
That will will
it's
negate
a game.
The effects.
Yeah, it's a game. I'm going to drop another one. Find it, and she's using her nose.
Yeah, she is,
and therefore, that's a relaxing thing too. So pop up. Yeah, because the thing is, especially for a working dog who's at this level of fear. Staying relaxed, you've got to sort of mix it up a bit, really, because otherwise, you're punishing your dog for actually sort of staying in one spot. It becomes tenser and tenser.
Yeah, absolutely. And holding the dog down in the face of the idea to do flooding is it's probably not the way to go.
Yeah, so
it can only increase the fear.
Yeah, so we need to practice a relaxation regime, before the noise. I mean, we've just come in today and filming, and we've had the noise, and we were happy to talk about relaxation regimes, but we've actually had to work really hard today to get her to relax. But normally I would say work on it before the noise happens. But I mean, in fairness to us, we do work on her fear of noise most of the time, and, get her to relax, when there aren't any noises about.
Absolutely. And we are very careful not to push her into a situation where, that fear can boil over to, as you said, redirected aggression, or just into complete meltdown.
Yeah, it's a bit like with phobias. People like to actually push people into, coping with their fear in a big way instead of small steps, small incremental steps like we do. Some people talk about, flooding, like waving a spider under a person's nose and making them if they've, got a fear of spiders, which is quite common in human beings. We wouldn't want to do that with our dogs or people, really, because, if you've got a friend who's got a phobia, you're not going to actually want to, chase them round with that thing that they're afraid of. That's really cruel, isn't it?
It is. And also, there's a world of difference between, doing it in a setup situation and it happening in real life. So, if someone knows they're perhaps going to have a spider in a controlled manner, that's fine. But the spider that's free running and suddenly pops around the corner at them is a different kettle of fish, is it not?
Yeah.
And I think the same probably applies to our dogs, that we can do these setup games with them, but it's not ever quite the same as the real thing happening spontaneously. So be careful if you're trying to do that. It could easily make things worse, not better. So my advice is probably go slowly, bit by bit.
And there's these CD, recordings. I'll show my age now, but
they're freely available, and there are recordings of all the sort of sounds that we find, fireworks and that sort of thing, thunderstorms. You are meant to play them at a low level on your
but people
speakers.
people make mistakes with that.
Well, the problem is we all rush it. I think the tendency is for people to rush it. So all you're doing is then creating another fear space inside your what should be an area of refuge. So if you do it, you have to be very, very slow. It's no good saying, "Oh, here we are in October. There's going to be fireworks on the 5th of November, and we're going to start it, 2 weeks before." That's not going to be the length of time. In fact, the time to start it would be just after the fireworks have happened, but at a very, very low level, and spend a whole year doing it.
So that's your top tip for
go slowly.
Yeah, go slowly. And if you've got a dog that's fearful of fireworks, creating a doggy den for them too.
Refuge is very important.
And don't drag them out of that.
Don't drag them out,
because
don't try and make them face their fear. They don't understand that sort of
a lot
concept.
of dogs will try and escape under the bed, and people get bitten trying to get
them out because they are so fearful. And we're back to the redirected aggression. So excuse me with my coffee throat.
Yes, it's start of spring, so we're getting all our allergies, and we'll talk about dogs' allergies.
Yeah, we will. That's a big thing.
Next podcast. So let's draw it to close there, and if you want to learn any more about these things of fear of fireworks, go to our website www.lassietalks.com and do listen to our podcasts, and you can find us on Facebook too. See you next time.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Lassie Talks. If you would like to get in touch or have any questions, then please visit lassietalks.com or visit our Facebook and YouTube page. Every dog has a Lassie's heart. So remember, we need to make our homes the best place for our dogs to be. See you soon at the next episode of Lassie Talks. Lassie Talks was recorded and produced at Monkey Nut Audiobooks.